Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a quick video that apparently I'm an NRG fan, I guess. This is the second time I'm doing this because I just see a solution for this team that I don't know why they aren't doing these things. Last time we talked about their split. That one I could understand a little bit more. But this time we're going to be talking about a map that they've lost twice. Yeah, well, to some interesting teams here, right? So versus Loud, they lost this map, and versus G2, yes, as you can see, it was Ascent. Ascent gave them a bit of an issue. And surprisingly, this was still doing playoffs of VCT 2026 America's Stage 1. So they swapped comps from here over to when they were doing the EWC qual, and they lost both. We're over here losing to Loud with this one. This is just, hey, traditional, but instead of Killjoy, we're going with Vice. And versus G2, it was a, well, I'll admit, they probably should have won this one because Valen has a tough time calling against against walls. As you can see, the defense 7-5, not too bad. They had a streak and then turned it around. But I feel like I think G2 just got lucky, if I'm being real. But it seems like NRG didn't feel that way. So much so that they had to change the comp, and yeah, didn't work out that way. But there is a comp that they've played that has gotten them a map off of Paper X, a win off of Paper X in Santiago. And, just to continue that this is the map that they do it on, also win pretty close to a blowout. Well, it is a blowout, but close enough to a 13-0 versus 100 Thieves. It is their Pearl comp. So, switching over to Icarus, let's talk about why I think that this could work for them. So, there's a lot of stuff on here. I'm going to currently have the names on the screen just so you could follow along a little bit easier in case you forget where places are. Let me know if that's a no-no, if we don't particularly like that. But TLDR, the comp has a lot of places where it just works, specifically Tejo, Waylay, and Astro. Pretty simple. We know Killjoy and Silva work on this map. I didn't feel the need to plot that out because they've always been on Ascent. As you can see though, there's so many places that you could do some funky either line up here to do a saturate, drop down, and then get those kills there. Whether it be a pull when somebody taps an ult orb and then getting missiles there. Those are just some nice little traps you can do with their comp. Now, past that though, Tejo has a pretty decent role on Ascent that you can just easily break through the doors. I'll include a clip of that right now.
Launching missile. All missiles away.
All right. So with that, that just helps your retake immensely. You just got to be in the rightest spot. Even hell, as you can see where I have Teo placed here in market, you can just make sure that you're a little bit closer here instead of being back here for it to want to fly through there, break the door, and clear this corner that you need to clear anyway. All right. Over here, come through lobby, come through garden. Sorry, come through cubby, come through garden. Right? You could do either one and just make sure that you clear switch. Awesome. Throw that one too. You can just, with Tejo, get some pretty good value. Now, next up, I want to talk about how there's no counter. Nobody's using KO right now. Funny enough, they tried to, but people are off of KO because people are on Phoenix. They're just like, oh, we'll just do Phoenix instead, and instead of playing KO. So when there's no KO, your Killjoy can play their setup. Your Tejo can be around and not worry about getting suppressed. Your Astra can play their setup as well. That's just perfectly fine for all of these situations, right? And then next up, let's talk about how you counter. Well, with having their double drone comp, Sova can go ahead and expend the shock darts on bullshit Vice Thorns or Cypher traps that may be there, Cypher trips that may be there as Sovas do, and free of worry of like, oh, I have no util for post plant, because then you have Tejo. But past that, Tejo has this little funky little stealth drone that people have to shoot or else they risk being revealed and suppressed, which can really hamper sentinels on maps that you have some play to get around it. Like, especially on B, if somebody's not immediately holding the line to pop it, you can get a good chance to just drop it off this cliff and pop it to find a vice lurking back here, unless they're all the way in boathouse, right? Um, or a cipher that's trying to figure out where the fuck to play. Probably should have placed them here because they're usually about here, but maybe they're dice and want to go to hell, right? One of those things. Pretty interesting there, depending on what they're holding, especially when the stealth drone is stealth up into a certain visual point, right? So that's pretty cool. But also, right here, Waylay. There's another team that is trying to address the inclusion of Vice in everybody else's comp. Waylay's still fine. Yeah, you can't do the instant throw anymore. It takes a little bit more. Now, hell, maybe you might end up needing to do Tejo stun instead. But the fact that Waylay can trip the wall and come back compared to being a jet that is now stuck at switch is pretty good for letting your team regroup and actually finally execute. And then I have Jet down here in red as well because, well, to this same extent, Jet, we all know where Jet dashes to, right? Top of gen, switch. It's pretty awesome to have a character that can now, I guess I should have made Jet an enemy, my bad. Um, Pretty awesome to have not one but two characters that can address this, either by missiling that and making that have pressure, or immediately saturating that and then spamming the fuck out of the smoke as we all should do anyway. So that's pretty good to have on standby. Or maybe you don't want to invest a missile to the same extent. Maybe you just want to do the stun, right? And that's also to be said that the stun can break things too now. So there's that. You between the stun and shock darts, you shouldn't have to worry about whatever sentinel somebody's trying to include, unless we start getting wacky tobacco and using deadlock or maybe veto. But teams are bad with veto. Past that though, let's talk about the counter to the counter. Let's go to that G2 for a second, who have brought out Yoru as the Vice wall counter. Well, if you're not running Vice, who gives a fuck? Especially if you still have, oh, I don't know, a turret that can watch and still let you know if it's going to be something worth being concerned about. We all know the Killjoy setups. I don't need to place all of this. Um, but yeah, two ways of information. If you're not playing Vice, guess what? You don't have to worry about your Vice being countered by another team that's trying to find a counter to what you're doing. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows. There is odd lanes for trying to use this comp on Ascent. Where the fuck do you ult? That's probably the biggest thing of where the fuck do you ult with this composition for Waylay and Tejo. Now, you can go ahead and rip it on something. These are some common angles that people will be. Move that over a little bit more. That people will be and possibly punish them from there, whether it be with Teho missiles as well. There's things that you can do. But past that, this might be the most convo-y combo time of teamwork, friendship shit go, where you can actually be decent at what's going on. So, you can bandage these things by using the Killjoy Ulton combination, or really as having a supporting piece to the Killjoy ult. As we know, these are the common hotspots for lockdown. On the attack, you're trying to take the space. It'd be pretty nice if people have to either run all the way back here or here, or uh, get locked down. They will be trapped because if they go into these missiles, they're fucked. If they go into Armageddon, they're fucked. To the same situation, if you know that you want to play this common one down here, and we all know that it has a bad spot around here, they either have to stand in the open, maybe you do use both guided salvos for this situation, but probably just put one right there so that they will take damage trying to run into hell. Or hell, but dum dum, put that grav right there so that, yeah, they're going to get locked down. Same thing over here. You can instead invest, well, not instead, on top of that, invest the gravity well so that either they have no salvation here or maybe even no salvation here. More than likely going to do this one because very few people are going to run up this way. But if you want to cover all your bases, you should be in the clear. And with that, one thing that I did fail to like plot out that I didn't think until before I put this together with Waylay, if you're good with the refract, you can counter uh well, you can counter an enemy killjoy ult. So if you know like, oh, it's locking down, I guess we'll put that into the next one, right? Uh there's there's things that you can do on top of all of like, oh no, I'm about to get locked down for the teams that do come back to Killjoy. Yeah, you can dodge it, so that's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, so between bandage combinations, there's that. Now here's the bandage on the retake, right? If you want to retake your site, instead of having to play into the site and hopefully get your lockdown to here, you can go ahead and get it to here if you know that you have utility to make it so that they can't play back here. Or you could even get funky, right? Depending on where you're standing, you can get it back here and just like, why didn't you place it here initially? Because sometimes you might be just trying to make sure that they can't run all the way here, get them killed. If they try to run this way, if they try to hide and whine, go ahead and salvo them to death, right? And because of the fact that you have coverage with Teho as well as the Killjoy ult, you can afford to move it slightly over from the typical spot. So all the Phoenixes that are getting played miss their Killjoy lockdown destroying combo and then wonder what the fuck happened. Because they will be confident in it being right there. And if you're just slightly over, it is really funny. All right. So now a Phoenix has invested all of their stall utility and then still getting locked down because they missed. Right. So there's that. And then finally, just want to talk about the overall counterpoint of, well, what do, right? There are some other teams that are bringing out some other shit. Everybody's trying to figure it out. There is Chamber, there's Phoenix. Now, those ones are a little bit interesting because it's a back and forth, right? If when you have two or three agents that need to stand still for shit, it gets interesting, right? If you know where a Phoenix is ulting, sure, you can go ahead and drop that on their head after you pop the run it back. If you know that a chamber is holding something, especially after you suppress them, fine. You know, you can get that cleared out. And that is the other thing, right? If you have both a drone here and a drone here, you should not be as susceptible to operators as a lot of these other comps are. But it does come back to the same age old, oh fuck, I'm asking Waylay to be the solo duelist. Which, because NRG was doing double drone, they were fairly fine at doing it. As long as the spike goes down, you can play time. And as long as that time is ticking. And this is the other thing. Ascent is uncomfortable as hell at trying to defuse. Like, do we understand that? This is their you don't defuse against me comp. Right? Between having Killjoy Nanos on the spike, Astrasuck on the spike, and then Tejo salvos that you can do from all the way back here, so they have to come all the way out here to address you. Now, mind you, this is like if they know what you're doing, you could do this like the first time, right? If they know what you're doing and know you're crouched behind this box, they might spam you, right? But they still had to come quite a far away. If you just hide here for a quick second, or say that it's even planted and you so if you know like what the iPad looks like, you can still just try to do it there and burn their time even further. This just gets you more coverage for being a little bit accurate right there, right? So as long as you get the spike down, which is easier said than done on a scent that has been traditionally defense sided, but if you could just get that sucker down and have the information on a very claustrophobic map, especially when you can just invest it at willy nilly to get your point across, right? With a Tejo, with a Waylay Saturate, doesn't even need to be combos all the time. You can be fine. But you are asking for solo Waylay on attack into a traditionally defense sided map. So I can understand the wariness to do it. But right now we have G2 playing solo Yoru, and apparently what they're doing with Jet isn't working out. As cough cough, I talked about this on Twitter with some other analysts. Well, with analysts, I don't consider myself an analyst, but with analysts about how Jet is actually pretty bad on Ascent. Always has been, even though that's what everybody was playing. Statistically, always the worst one on Ascent. Well, not the worst, but not nearly as good compared to the pick rate. So if we're going to be doing Jet again, we might as well be doing Waylay. And that does remind me of one last thing I do want to talk about between that matchup. Waylay has the luxury of this being the signature that you might run out of while you're trying to hold an angle and see if people are going to come by. Your escape is still there. You only can do it once, so that's the thing, but instead of being a jet and then going, oh no, my operator line, they didn't peek me and I already burned my dash. Now I just gotta hold up, spin around, and hopefully I can retreat. Especially if you want to play somewhere like here, right? Instead, Waylay, just hold that sucker and then you can boom boom to whatever situation you want to go. Obviously not that far, but you know. Uh, and if this gets burned, it gets burned. And if it doesn't, it doesn't, right? So that's the other benefit to having Waylay compared to Jet. So overall, NRG, I think you can just run your Pearl comp on Ascent. I hope to see it. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.